762,623. That's the total combined US sales volume of the Toyota RAV4, Honda CRV, and Mazda CX-5 through just the first 3 quarters of 2023. That means by the end of 2023, there could be over 1 million sales for just these 3 models alone. That's massive. Here's how that number breaks out in comparison to other cars in this segment you may be considering as well. The RAV4 still has a healthy lead over the CRV, and these two have been running away with it for what feels like at least the last decade. Then, we have the Mazda. While its sales numbers may pale in comparison to our two titans, this has been a wildly important car to the Mazda brand. For some additional perspective, out of all cars these brands sold in the US respectively, the RAV4 accounted for 21% of Toyota's US sales, the CRV accounted for 24% of Honda's, while more than 1 out of 2 Mazdas sold in the United States is a CX-5. Whoa. You may be asking, how does all that information make any difference when considering which one of these cars is your perfect fit? Well, let's find out. It's time for our first ever Top Trims Showdown. Let's talk about what we'll be covering in this video. If you're cross-shopping these cars, you probably watched a dozen videos at this point of a car reviewer walking around the cars, taking aesthetic shots of the exterior, shoving some carry-on bags into the trunk, complaining about the infotainment, and driving them around to tell you which one is better. Well, this video isn't that. This is Top Trims. We do things a little bit different here. We like specs, numbers, and of course, trim levels and their prices and features. We'll start off by comparing specs. Power figures, exterior and interior dimensions, safety ratings, quality scores, and cost to own. Awarding a winner in each category and giving a score. Then we'll move to talking about how the standard features and base prices of each model compare to one another in our bare essentials comparison. All 3 of these cars boast some pretty impressive features in the very top trim, but the reality is most buyers fall somewhere in the middle of the pack. So we'll also do an apples to apples comparison, where we'll take one trim level of each car in a similar spot in the lineup to illustrate the similarities and differences in what each of these cars have to offer. If you're interested in learning more on any of these models, we have done comprehensive trim level breakdowns on each of them, where we cover all standard features, explain the differences in each trim level, and make our top picks for each. We'll wrap up by crowning a winner with our top pick honors, where we choose which one of these will be at the top of our shopping list. Let's do it. Let's meet our competitors. We've got the Toyota RAV4, available in 9 distinct trim levels ranging from sporty to rugged and simple to fancy. Whatever your style, there's probably a RAV4 for you, and that's probably why it's the most popular for our 3 competitors. Next, we got the Honda CRV. Newly redesigned with a simple but modern aesthetic, there are 6 different trims of the CRV that are all pretty conservative yet inoffensive in their styling. Last, we got the underdog, the Mazda CX-5 with its dynamic and sporty design with substance to match. We'll see 8 different trims available with plenty to offer, even the most detail-oriented of buyers. Starting off with available powertrains. The RAV4 will offer 3 distinct options. First, a 2.5-liter inline-4, available with front-wheel drive, all-wheel drive, or a dynamic torque vectoring all-wheel drive, which should net about 30 miles per gallon combined and a modest 8.2 second 0 to 60. The standard RAV4 engine will come paired with an 8-speed automatic transmission. A hybrid, all coming standard with Toyota's electric on-demand all-wheel drive system that replaces a drive shaft with rear electric motors. The hybrid should get close to 40 miles per gallon combined, plus improved acceleration at about 7.3 seconds 0 to 60. There's a plug-in hybrid RAV4 Prime that's classified as a different model that gives an estimated 42 miles of all-electric range at 94 mpge, or about 38 miles per gallon combined when driving as a traditional hybrid, and getting from 0 to 60 in an astonishing 5.4 seconds. Both the hybrid and the plug-in hybrid RAV4s will come paired with a CVT. The CRV changes things up a bit with either a 1.5-liter turbo 4-cylinder, standard with front-wheel drive and available with all-wheel drive. This base engine should achieve about 29 miles per gallon combined, but doing it at a much more leisurely pace than any of its competitors at 8.7 seconds from 0 to 60. For better fuel economy and acceleration, you can opt for the hybrid, which will pair a 2-liter 4-cylinder with electrification to achieve a combined 37 miles per gallon and a 0 to 60 sprint around 7.5 seconds. That means in either gas or hybrid version, the RAV4 will edge out the CRV in both fuel economy and acceleration. But the numbers are close enough that it may or may not be a huge deciding factor for you. If you choose the CRV, you'll be rocking a CVT, just like the RAV4 hybrid. Moving over to the CX-5, this is the first of many times we'll see how Mazda does things differently. Similarly, the base engine will be a 2.5-liter inline-4, boasting a small advantage over the other 2 base engines with an 8.1 second 0 to 60 time. But that will come at the cost of fuel economy, with the CX-5 only achieving 28 miles per gallon combined. Unlike its competitors, the CX-5 ditches electrification for a turbocharger for around a 6-second 0 to 60 run. But premium fuel is recommended for this engine, though not required. And you'll have to decide if the performance is worth the dip in fuel economy to around 24 miles per gallon combined. Driving enthusiasts rejoice, the CX-5 will come with a 6-speed automatic transmission instead of a CVT. To summarize, the CX-5 wins on performance, but the RAV4 and hybrid variant will win on fuel economy. The CRV boasts better fuel economy than the CX-5, but is bottom of the pack for acceleration. Towing capacities for the CRV will be 1,500 pounds for the gas model and 1,000 pounds for the hybrid. The CX-5 will have a 2,000 pound towing capacity on all models, and the RAV4 will have a 1,750 pound towing capacity on the hybrid and up to 3,500 pounds for the gas model depending on the trim you choose. Moving to our exterior dimensions, I knew these models would be similar considering they all compete with one another, but I was actually surprised how close they really are. We're talking fractions of an inch in some measurements. The noteworthy difference here is that the CRV is going to be about 4 inches longer than the other two and about 5 inches wider. Now let's see how that translates to the interior. For passenger comfort, we see the RAV4 offer the least front headroom while the Honda offers the most. And for rear passenger headroom, it flip-flops. The CX-5 falls in the middle of both categories but closer to the higher end of both. Front legroom will be almost identical, while surprisingly, the RAV4 loses a couple inches to its competitors in rear legroom. Again, these numbers are all very close, so it's relative. But with hip room, we see the RAV4 get edged out slightly again here in the front, and by a lot in the rear. The numbers obviously don't tell the whole story, but just based on dimensions, the CX-5 actually would seem to offer the roomiest backseat area. This changes when we get to cargo volume. With the rear seats up or down, we see the CX-5 offers considerably less space than its competition. The CRV and RAV4 will be close, but the CRV takes the prize for overall cargo volume with a whopping 76.5 cubic feet. For safety, these all appear to be excellent choices. However, the CRV pulls ahead in this category with IIHS Top Safety Pick Plus honors, while the CX-5 and RAV4 are still top safety picks. From JD Power, we have quality and reliability scores based on input from verified owners of the car. From their website, this is how they define these scores. This score measures the level of defects, malfunctions, and design flaws experienced by vehicle owners, covers the entire vehicle from engine to infotainment system. A higher rating means fewer problems. In third place, we have the Toyota RAV4 with 76 out of 100. Then we have the Honda CRV with 80 out of 100. And the CX-5 pulling ahead with 82 out of 100. While we see the CX-5 take the cake here, it's surprising to see the RAV4 rated so low, given Toyota's reputation for stringent quality control. For more insight, I used Edmunds.com 5-year cost to own predictor. I'm not entirely sure what's under the hood of this calculation, as it's labeled as proprietary, but I wanted to illustrate some comparison. This is based on 5 years of ownership, driving 15,000 miles a year, so these may be less accurate depending on how much more or less you drive. I ran these calculations for each powertrain, with the exception of the RAV4 Prime, in the lowest trim they're offered on, and with all-wheel drive to level the playing field as much as possible. Based on this, both the gas and hybrid CRV come in lower than anything else for insurance, maintenance, and repairs. Once you factor in predicted fuel costs, the hybrid CRV and hybrid RAV4 unsurprisingly come in the lowest, but this will be hugely dependent on fuel costs where you live and how much you drive. The nod here will go to the CRV. Before we get to our bare essentials and apples-to-apples comparisons, let's see where we stand. The CRV scored in safety and low cost to own and cargo volume, while the RAV4 edged out the others in fuel economy, with the CX-5 beating the others in acceleration and performance and quality scores. You may be starting to see just how similar these cars are and why they're so popular, but also some factors as to why buyers may choose one over the other. In 2024, the list of standard features on pretty much any new car is pretty extensive, these three included. We've compared all-wheel drive versions of the lowest trims of each vehicle to keep things as even as possible. Starting from lowest price to highest, we have the CX-5 2.5S Select, starting at $29,300. Remember, the CX-5 is the only one of these vehicles that comes standard with all-wheel drive across all models, so for the other two, the all-wheel drive was an added cost. Next, we have the RAV4 LE, starting at $29,875. The base LE trim is also available as a hybrid, which starts at $31,475. Last, we have the CRV LX, starting at $31,000. Comparing tech of these three offerings, we see a 10.25-inch screen as standard on the CX-5, while the RAV4 gets an 8-inch screen and the CRV gets a 7-inch screen. All three will have Bluetooth audio and streaming capability, plus Apple CarPlay and Android Auto functionality as standard. But the RAV4 gets wireless CarPlay and Android Auto. You'll get one USB port on the base CRV, 3 on the RAV4, and 4 on the CX-5. The The CRV and RAV4 will offer 7 inches of screen in the gauge cluster, even in the base models, while the lower trim CX-5s get a smaller 4.6-inch display. Both the RAV4 and the CRV will get cloth seating, a urethane steering wheel and gear selector, and manually adjustable drivers and passenger seats. The CX-5 will have leatherette seating, heated front seats, a leather-wrapped steering wheel and gear selector, and a power driver's seat. Yes, on the base model. All 3 will come with power locks, power windows, and rear AC vents. The RAV4 and CRV will come with keyless entry, while the Mazda will come with Smart Key, allowing you to unlock and lock the doors from a button on the door handle. The RAV4 and CX-5 will have one-touch auto up-down on all 4 windows, while the base CRV will only have this feature on the front windows for the base LX. Both the Honda and Toyota will have automatic climate control, but only the CX-5 and hybrid RAV4 will have a dual-zone automatic climate control standard. Something else of note, the CX-5 has a 40-20-40 folding rear seat versus 60-40 on the other 2. This might be helpful if you wanted to transport something long like skis for example while still seating 4. Push-button start will not come standard on the RAV4 but will on the other 2, and all 3 come with an electronic parking brake with a brake hold feature. Moving to the exterior, we see auto on-off LED headlights on all 3 with automatic high beams. The RAV4 and CRV will also have LED taillights and daytime running lights. The CX-5 does, however, come standard with 17-inch alloy wheels, while the base CRV and RAV4 come with steel wheels and wheel covers. You'll also get integrated LED turn signals on the power mirrors, automatic rain sensing wipers, and rear privacy glass, which we also see on the RAV4 but not on the CRV LX. Basic safety features will be pretty standard across the board here, but CRV does add multiple angles to the backup camera. For more advanced safety features, the CRV has an extensive list of driver aids as standard, but all 3 will get dynamic radar cruise control, lane keeping assist, lane departure warning, and some sort of pre-collision braking. CRV and RAV4 will come with traffic sign recognition standard. It is offered on the CX-5, but only in the top signature trim. The RAV4 also gets some extras in the form of Smart Stop technology, which basically prevents you from accelerating on accident, and trailer sway control. The CX-5 will come standard with blind spot monitoring and rear cross traffic alert, while this is not available on the base CRV, and it's an additional $680 option on the base RAV4. Aside from advanced driver aids, the CX-5 appears to outclass its rivals in every way on the base model and do it for less money, making the CX-5 the winner of our bare essentials comparison. Not everyone's just looking at the base model though, so let's advance up the trim ladder for our apples to apples comparison. This comparison's really for illustrative purposes to take a trim from each car that isn't the absolute top trim or the base trim, that has some similarities to a trim from the competitive models, including where it falls in the lineup and price, to get a better idea of how they might match up. For this, we chose the second to top trim for each model. We chose the RAV4 Hybrid XSE at $37,135, the CRV Sport L Hybrid at $37,200, and the CX-5 Turbo Premium at $37,800. Again, if there are other trims of these vehicles you'd like to know more about, make sure you check out our trim level breakdown videos for each of these. Less than $700 separate these 3 offerings, and offer the more powerful powertrain option, all with all-wheel drive, and all have a more sporty stylized exterior, even down to the black alloy wheels we see on all of them. On these loaded, but not fully loaded trims, here's how they stack up. The Mazda retains the 10.25-inch screen all the way up the lineup, which still comes close to the 10.5-inch screen standard on the RAV4 Hybrid XSE trim, and still larger than the 9-inch screen for the CRV here. All 3 will have upgraded audio over the base models, with 8 speakers on the CRV and a 10-speaker Bose premium audio system on the CX-5. The XSE will come standard with 6 speakers, but you can choose to option an 11-speaker JBL premium audio system as part of an almost $3,000 advanced technology package. All 3 come standard with Sirius XM capability and wireless Apple CarPlay and Android Auto. Wireless chargers will be included with this trim of the CRV and CX-5 and can be added on the RAV4 as part of that same advanced technology package. The CX-5 will add a head-up display and upgrade to a 7-inch screen in the gauge cluster, while the RAV4 Hybrid XSE will have an optional 12.3-inch digital gauge cluster as part of the advanced technology package. All 3 will also include their own unique interior accents. For the CRV, we see black leather seats with orange accent stitching. For the CX-5, we get red accents. And on the RAV4, we get a black Softex interior with blue accents and unique fabric inserts. All 3 will have leather-wrapped touch points and heated seats as standard, but the CX-5 will also add ventilated front seats and paddle shifters. On the exterior, we see gloss black wheels all around, 18 inches for the Honda and Toyota and 19 inches for the Mazda. We also see roof rails and gloss black painted heated power mirrors on all 3. Safety features remain pretty much the same except the addition of traffic jam assist on the CX-5 trim. If you want more features on the CRV, you'd be stepping up to the Sport Touring Hybrid. The The next step up for the CX-5 would be the signature trim to get it fully loaded with even more. The RAV4, however, would allow you to add up to $3,665 in option packages to add the features we already talked about, plus things like a 360-degree camera, a panoramic moonroof, and even a digital rearview mirror. For our apples to apples, we've got to give the nod to the CX-5 yet again. While it's the most expensive of the three options we chose, it's basically a premium paint color away from being the same price. You have way more power and performance than the other two, and additional features like ventilated seats and a head-up display. Now let's get to our top pick. To summarize this comparison, you've really got two options that are much more similar than not in the CRV and RAV4, while the CX-5 dares to be different. Honda and Toyota are massive players with tons of resources and tons of sales numbers, and Mazda is much smaller. This is what allows them to step outside the norm and offer something that arguably feels more special and more premium, and do it for less money while being compared to much more mainstream vehicles. This is mass appeal versus appealing massively to a smaller audience. This is two vehicles that dominate their space and do so at an incredible volume, versus a brand and a vehicle that intends to look at their design, feel, and driving experience in an almost artistic way. If you haven't already figured it out, the CX-5 is our top pick of these three. Yes, it has some shortcomings. It's got less space for hauling things, it gets worse gas mileage, and offers no hybrid options. It's by far the oldest platform of these three, dating back to 2016, and yet people keep coming back to it, buying it more than pretty much every other Mazda model combined. The RAV4 and CRV are pragmatic, practical, reasonable. It's easy to see why they sell so many. But the Mazda is chasing after emotion, which is much more powerful. And they seem to accomplish this without as much sacrifice as you expect. The CX-5 is much more Miata than it is minivan. It's the emotional choice for someone who needs to be practical. Let us know if you agree with our pick down in the comments below, and also let us know if there's any cars you'd like to see us break down or any comparisons you'd like to see. Until next time, thanks so much for watching, stay safe, and remember, life's too short to drive a base model.